What's up, real ones? Welcome to Let's View It. Thank you for clicking on my video for the first time or again. And you know, now that we can say that the Kendrick Lamar and the Drake beef is officially dead, you know, since the Super Bowl halftime, you know what happened? Kendrick Lamar's lawyer came up to him and said, "I got bad news. Drake has sued you. You can no longer call him the P word." And then Kendrick was like, "Okay, check it out. I'll only call him the P word one more time during the historical viewed rating Super Bowl halftime show. In fact, I can do better. I won't even say it. I'll just let all the thousands of fans in the stadium say it, and the millions across the world in their homes, at the club, in the bar, on the streets. They'll say it. I'll stay out of it. And then, I swear, I'll never bring it up again. Deal?" So ever since that halftime show, the beef's been cooked. Probably medium, with good seasoning and flavor, real tender, and Kendrick Lamar just ate it all up. So it's all gone. Yeah, it's been a little boring without it, but no fear. There's a new beef here. And I never saw this beef coming. I didn't think it'll get this big, but now that it's this big and it's this entertaining, I gotta do a video on it. And this beef is between Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James. And in case you don't follow sports and don't know who Stephen A. Smith is, why the hell did you click on this channel? Just joking. Stephen A. Smith is a sports commentator who works for ESPN. He's known to be a big mouth and, to me, quite phony and fake. That's how he comes off to me. Maybe he comes off differently to you. I don't know. And on the other side of this beef, we got LeBron James. And he's known for ruining the NBA and destroying everything that Kobe tried to build. But also for which is influencing the new generation too. And don't think this doesn't mean that he ain't phony and fake.
I don't need to flop. I play an aggressive game, but I don't flop. I've never been one of those guys. I don't even know how to do it.
Oh, come on. What kind of league are we becoming if that's a flagrant foul?
Another fine for LeBron James on the flop right there.
Has to be.
There was a little bit of contact there.
Called. Second on road.
We're just not a team that goes out there and looking for flopping opportunities. It's just not us. It's actually never been any team that I've played on in my 20 years where we've been a flopping team.
Now that I got these two characters fully introduced to you guys, let's get into this beef. What I'm about to show you is several video clips that I collected of when Stephen A. basically sparked this whole thing. What he said to LeBron to make him so mad. And just to give you a hint, it has something to do with Bronny James, who is his son, who is now also a Laker in the NBA. And whatever Stephen A. said made LeBron so mad that he decided to approach Stephen A. in the middle of a game on live TV. And from that point on, it just grew bigger and bigger and more entertaining to the point where I'm like, I gotta show it to my real ones. Stephen A. and LeBron told Kendrick Lamar and Drake, "Hold my beer." So you already know. Let's view it. So this first clip I'm gonna show you is basically what set everything in motion. Now, I don't think Stephen A. and LeBron ever liked each other, but this right here is where Stephen A. brings up his son on his show, and this is what sets everything in motion. So take a listen.
I'm really trying to be as respectful as I possibly can be towards LeBron James. I am pleading with LeBron James as a father. Stop this. Stop this. We all know that Bronny James is in the NBA because of his dad. The first game of the season, opening night, the Griffies in attendance, father-son duo playing in an NBA game for the first time, an absolutely positively wonderful story. And then reality sets in. We love what we're seeing from him in the G League because that's where you belong. As you hone your skills and you get better and you legitimately earn, which I believe he has the potential to do. I am rooting for Bronny James. It would be cruel to root against him. He's a wonderful kid. I wish him nothing but the best. But he's LeBron James' son. And everybody knows what attention that brings. Molly, Doggy, put them up on the screen because I want to see their face when I say this. Right now, Bronny James is averaging 0.3 points, 0.3 assists, and 0.4 rebounds. You know what people are saying. You know what they're going to do to this kid. You know what these numbers mean. You know what it's going to do to your son, to people who are missing out on opportunities, that are busting their tail on other NBA teams in the G League, in Europe, and everywhere else, what kind of opportunity they're starving for. You're exposing your son like this? I'm not trying to be disrespectful in any way. I'm simply saying to have that moment on game one of the NBA season is one thing. To propel it to a point where he's on the bench, he's in uniform, he's taking up a roster spot, and now you're giving him time in the first quarter, and you see the absence of production. How are you helping him? I just don't get it. I really don't get it.
Now, just in case you don't really follow sports like that, let me break down what Stephen A was saying. He's basically saying that Bronny James, who is LeBron James' son, is not good enough to be in the NBA. He's good enough to be in the G League, which the G League is like a development league for the NBA. If you're not good enough to play in the NBA, you play in the G League. So he's saying he's not NBA caliber. And the only reason why he's in the NBA in the first place is because LeBron James is his dad. Now, even though this is Bronny James's first year, LeBron James has been saying for years that he wanted to play long enough for his son to play with him in the NBA. So when it came time for Bronny to be drafted into the NBA, LeBron basically said, I'm going wherever my son goes, which is obviously enticing teams to draft Bronny to get LeBron James. Now, unfortunately, LeBron James has been a Laker for way too long, for like 5 years, 6 years, who knows? It seems like 100 years. But of course, since the Lakers didn't want to lose LeBron, they drafted Bronny. So now LeBron James' son is on the Lakers. Now, not only is Stephen A saying Bronny James is in the NBA because of his dad, not because of his skill, he is also saying that since he is LeBron James' son, and since he is unfairly put in the league because he is LeBron James' son, now he has a lot of attention on him and he's getting a lot of scrutiny because he's not that good. Especially at the time that Stephen A was saying this, Bronny James was not that good. So a lot of people will bash him on social media. He gets a lot of scrutiny, and every time he plays, it's like the fans and other players are being reminded that he's only there because he's LeBron James' son. And Stephen A is basically saying, this is unnecessary. Why would you put your son in this type of situation when you're LeBron James and you know your son is not good enough? You're basically putting him in a situation where he cannot win. Why would you do that? It would make sense for an agent to do it, right? It's about money. But it doesn't really make sense for your dad to do it, especially when you guys are basically billionaires anyways. So those statements right there from Stephen A is what sparks this next confrontation. So this second clip right here, this is where LeBron James approaches Stephen A. Smith during the game. Just so you know where to focus, this is LeBron and this is Stephen A. So after Stephen A. Smith told LeBron James to stop putting his son in that situation, LeBron approached him during this game. And if you read his lips, he's saying, "Keep my motherfucking son's name out your motherfucking mouth." He did the Will Smith. Now, obviously, this moment went viral. It's on live TV. Someone's filming it with their phone right there. So the whole sports world is like, what now? What is Stephen A gonna do? What is he gonna say? Anything? Nothing? Is he gonna keep his son's name out his mouth? But on the other side of that coin, you got people going, but everybody says that, LeBron. And you don't confront everybody. You don't confront Charles Barkley. But you decide to confront a 57-year-old man. That looks weak. If this is what you're standing on, have that same energy no matter who says it. But with everybody on the edge of their seats, wondering what the next move is going to be, it didn't take long for Stephen A to respond to the situation.
That wasn't a basketball player confronting me. That was a parent. That was a father. And I can't sit here and be angry or feel slighted by LeBron James in any way in that regard. And based on some of the comments that he had heard, or shall I say, I think he thought he heard, he clearly took exception to some of the things that he heard me say, and he confronted me about it. For the record, his agent and friend, Rich Paul, has my number. Maverick Carter, who works under him, has my number. LeBron James knows how to get in contact with me if he wanted to. He never called, because had he called and wanted to talk to me, I would have accepted that call. Now let me tell you what I feel. What I would have said if we were in a different environment, because I was not going to engage in a confrontation at that particular moment in that setting. But if we had had that conversation, I would have said to LeBron James, I never would speak negatively about your son. I was talking about you, meaning you, LeBron James. I was talking about the position that he was put in by his dad. Because LeBron James has been on the record, and he has said, and I'll read the quote here, the work and results will ultimately do talking, no matter what the size. If y'all don't know, he doesn't care what mock drafts say. He just works, earned, not given, etc., etc. But he also had said that his son could play on the Lakers right now, and he was better than half the dudes in the NBA. My point months ago was that because of who you are, one of the top 2 players in the history of basketball, in my estimation, there's an immense amount of pressure that comes with that for his son. And when he talked like that and what have you, anything that goes awry as it pertains to his son, there's going to be a microscopic eye, even more intensified, on Bronny James because of his dad. And that's when I was talking about, come on, man, this is the situation that you're putting him in. That's where I was coming from. Because he and I don't necessarily vibe. It's high and by. We keep it moving. Neither of us lose sleep over it. And it's been that way for years. But it was like he was saying, keep that between me and you. Almost as if he was thinking that anything that I said about Bronny was a result of him. And in that situation, again, I wasn't talking about Bronny. I was really, really talking about him.
Now, as you can see from his response and the energy from the response, it was very like backing down, non-confrontational, saying, I get it. He's coming to me like a father. If I wanted to say that stuff, I should have told him behind closed doors. And it basically seemed like he just got bitched. That's what it seemed like on national TV. Because if that was me, if that was my job, I would have been like, bro, I'm a sports commentator. I'm a sports writer. That means basketball, the game itself, and the interesting stories that revolve around it. It's not my fault that Bronny James happens to have you as his dad. Every player has parents. So every time you criticize a player, whether it's their play or a situation they're putting themselves in, is their dad or mom supposed to contact you now and be like, don't talk about my son? Or are they not allowed to because they're not part of the NBA? Because Stephen A said he came at me like a father. So he's saying basically all parents can come at him any way they want because they're coming at him like a parent. That's not true. LeBron James put his son in this situation. LeBron James knew what came with all this. He just didn't care at the time because all he wanted was what he wanted, and that was his son in the NBA on the same team as him. Now that he got what he wanted, he needs to man up and just take what comes his way. If he wants to talk shit back on his own podcast or something, that's fine. But don't try to start beef and fights on a basketball court, especially when you know nothing can happen. Now, because of this soft response, people basically looked at Stephen A as soft, even more so. So he's compiling the embarrassment. You basically get checked by a big ass dude on live TV, which goes viral, and then you make a response that makes you look weak. So now Stephen A is embarrassed. His manhood is in question, so he has a point to prove. So later on that day, he made another response to the situation on a podcast.
What do you make of LeBron confronting you in the aftermath of that situation?
I thought it was weak. I thought it was some bullshit. But in the moment, I knew that I was listening to a father. Here's what happened. I'm represented by William Morris Endeavor. The founder of William Morris Endeavor, Ari Emanuel, had courtside seats right next to the Lakers bench. He had Larry David with him, star of Curb Your Enthusiasm. I'm sitting with them. I get there in the first quarter. I'm sitting courtside, and I stand up, and then I got my head turned. And then I turned back around, and a lot of people thought this was the end of the game or something like that. This was in the third quarter. Apparently, LeBron had walked out of the timeout, and I turned around, and he's right here in my face. He said, yo, you got to stop talking shit about my son. You got to stop fucking with my son. That's my son. That's my son. And I was like, what? He said, nah, fuck that. I said, yo, let's talk later. He's like, fuck that. Nah, fuck that. You got to stop fucking with my son. And I said, all right, dog. And he walked off. So I remember during a timeout in the first quarter, seeing Bronny. And Bronny looked over at me, and he had this sad look on his face. And I'm imagining Pop saw that shit, it hit him. And he couldn't hold it, and he rolled up on me. And so when I went on the air the next morning, first things first, believe it or not, I know this is shocking for people to believe, but I didn't have any intentions on talking about it until I woke up that morning and saw that the shit had gone viral. Once the shit had gone viral, the bosses at ESPN, now you got to talk about it. This is you and him. You got to talk about it. I said, fine. So I go on the air and I said, the first thing that I'm going to do is establish that this was a father talking to me, not a player. And that was what threw me off. And I was glad, even though I thought that he misrepresented the argument, I was glad he did. Because you see, what he was really talking about, which was confirmed with his conversation with Richard Jefferson, is that I was talking about him as a father. And so what happens is that had he said that to me, then I wouldn't have been thrown off. I'd have came right back at him. Yes, I was. I was talking about you. You did this shit, which I'll get to in a second. But because he didn't do that, I said, fine, you let it go. Mind you, I just agreed to my contract. Courtside. That day was when it was announced. It's all over, everywhere.
We talked about it.
Right? Yeah. It's a nationally televised game. The cameras are rolling, and I'm like, if I do anything, this is gonna be a scene. Now, we can sit up here in front all we want to and act like we don't work for somebody. Damn it, I work for Walt Disney. And if I had gotten into some shit with him at courtside right there at that moment, no matter how right I would have been, it would have been wrong. And I was like, I'm not gonna do this. But once I saw the tape of him talking to Richard Jefferson Saturday night in Boston, that was when I got really pissed because that was confirmation.
You can tell Stephen A had a goal during this interview to make sure no one thought he was a bitch. He's trying to reverse that whole image. The guy asked him how does he feel about the LeBron situation, about him, confronting him on the court. And Stephen A wasted no time or syllables to say,
I thought it was weak. I thought it was some bullshit.
Where was that energy during the first response? Now, all of a sudden, he has some toughness and hardness to him.
I thought it was weak. I thought it was some bullshit.
And then he continues on to explain why he made his weak-ass response the first time. Oh, because I was looking at it like from a father's point of view. I saw Bronny's sad little puppy face on the sideline, and I was like, if I was LeBron James and I saw my son's sad little puppy face, I would be pissed too. That's why my first response was so weak, and that's why I backed down. But Stephen A. Smith isn't done there. Now he has to explain away why he didn't do anything when LeBron James was right in his face. And he's like, because I was confused. He thought I was talking about Bronny. But if I knew he was mad because I was talking about LeBron James, him himself, then I would have been like, hell yeah, I'm talking about you. But also, I can't make a scene right there on the court because I work for Disney. And we all know that pedos are against violence. So this interview was an attempt for Stephen A to get his man card back. And I guess acting tough gave him a high because he just gets tougher and tougher. But first, LeBron James now goes on the Pat McAfee show to respond to all this Stephen A madness.
I didn't want to address it.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't want to address it. I wasn't going to address it. But since the video came out, I feel the need to address it.
Hey, well, Fire, you would be not to talk about it.
Are you kidding me? If there's one person that couldn't wait to the video to drop so you could address it, it's your ass. Like, seriously, it's, and like another, he completely missed the whole point. The whole point. Never would I ever not allow people to talk about the sport, criticize players about what they do on the court. That is your job, to criticize or to, be in a position where, okay, if a guy's not performing, that is all part of the game. That's all part of the game. But when you take it and you get personal with it, it's my job to not only protect my damn household, but protect the players. And I think a lot of the media, including him, and I know he's gonna be happy as hell. He's gonna be smiling from ear to ear when he hears me talking about him again. Oh my God, he's gonna get home and grab some ice cream out of the fucking freezer and sit in his chair in his tighty whities on the couch.
I hope at some point you two do get a chance. But you're right.
Dude, like relax, bro. Like relax.
So that's what LeBron James had to say about all this. Stephen A. Smith is on a Taylor Swift tour, and he's gonna eat ice cream in his tighty whities. And apparently LeBron James has been hired to be the protector of all players. But now that LeBron James went on the Pat McAfee show and started talking mess about Stephen A. about, yeah, right, he wasn't going to bring it up. He only brought it up because it went viral. Yeah, right, he's the first person to want to bring something up, which is true. But the way that LeBron James even thought of that is because he says he doesn't want any attention, but he's the first person to want some attention. But since he talks shit about Stephen A. on this podcast, you know that now Stephen A. has to respond. And Stephen A. is still in his tough guy mode.
Tidy Whitey's comment was funny because I don't wear tidy whities. Let you figure out why that is. But moving on from that particular subject, I don't happen to consider anything that LeBron has said a laughing matter. So y'all wanted me to be serious, I'll be serious. And I know there's some people out there that's going to be like, oh, I'm milking the story for all it's worth. Well, I've been winning in television for quite some time. I don't need an incident like this to talk about LeBron, and I don't need an incident like this to get ratings. LeBron gives us plenty of ammunition to talk about him, both good and bad. So let's get that out the way first. My issue is with LeBron James. And I just want to say for the record, LeBron James is full of it. And in this particular instance, as it pertains to his son, he is a liar. And he went on national television today and he lied again. You see, when he approached me while I was sitting courtside at that game against the New York Knicks, when he rolled up on me, I didn't know he was going to roll up on me. I had no idea. But when he said what he had to say, I was in no position to give any kind of retort without making a scene. It was during the third quarter. It was fresh out of a timeout. It was him walking to the basketball court. It was on national television. The cameras were rolling. And had I done something, what do y'all want me to do? You want me to act? You want this to be a reincarnation of Chris Rock and Will Smith? And let me state for the record that while we bring up that, let me assure you it wouldn't have gone down like that. I would have gotten my ass kicked because had that man put his hands on me, I would have immediately swung on him. Immediately. That I'm not going to tolerate. But I knew he wasn't going to do something like that. There was no fear in my mind about it. It was shock. Because as I have repeatedly stated, I was not talking about his son. I was talking about him. And whether it's the video that you saw him a couple of days later after that incident when he was talking to Richard Jefferson, my colleague at ESPN, before an ABC game in Boston when it got blown out that night by the Celtics, or in the aftermath of it, including Pat McAfee's show when he talked about me getting personal and taking it beyond basketball, I'm getting to a point where I'm getting very annoyed at people who cover the game of basketball, who cover professional sports, pundits out there, including him, his inner circle, his family members, and everybody else included. When are y'all going to ask him or hold him accountable for the truth? I have not been talking about Bronny James. I have not, as LeBron James accused me of doing to my face, been shitting on his son. I clapped back at D. Wade and Melo, two brothers I love dearly, when they were talking about this, even though 99% of the stuff they said was right. It was not clapping back at his son. Your second-round pick, 55th overall, there's been plenty of second-round picks that have to work their way up through the ranks before getting to the pro level. Me pointing that out about his son and talking about how his son has been pushed to the forefront, thereby put in a line of fire for folks in the media to come at him, is not denigrating his son.
is simply highlighting what we all knew, which is that he's not ready yet. But based on what we've seen from Bronny recently, there are indications that he will be. And as LeBron James pointed out on the Pat McAfee show today, it's probably sooner than later because his growth and his maturation from just a year ago has happened by leaps and bounds. Nothing but respect and appreciation. Wishing Bronny nothing but the best. This is not about Bronny. This is about LeBron. This is about LeBron. And when you sit up there and you talk about, I love talking about, I don't need something like this to happen to talk about LeBron. He plays for the Lakers. He is LeBron James. I don't need an incident like this to talk about LeBron James. And do I use him for ratings? You're damn right. Like I use anything in the news for ratings. Because I'm a reporter and a personality and a pundit and a commentator. That's my career. Of course I talk about him. Of course I talk about anything relevant in the news. 1 minute it's LeBron, another minute it's the Cowboys. Y'all act like that's all I talk about. For 2 hours a day, 10 hours a week live, all I talk about is LeBron and the Cowboys. Are you sure? Because I can pick a whole bunch of things I've gotten in trouble for opening my mouth about. But that's neither here nor there. Because let's not get distracted from the real point at hand. The real point at hand is this. LeBron James continues to lie. He hoodwinked y'all into thinking that he was upset about criticism about his son. If your son is a professional basketball player, and I was talking about your son as a basketball player, since you just went on Pat McAfee's show and said you would never knock anybody for talking about the game, then what is it that I said? What I said was, as a father, stop. I wasn't talking about you as a father, as somebody that's home minding your business, and I just call you out because your son is in this position. That's not the father I've been talking about. That's why I've been addressing Draymond Green, who's been an avid supporter of LeBron on this matter. All I'm asking is for comprehension of the actual point. How do you mention Bronny James without bringing up how he got drafted by the Lakers? How he got drafted, period. How do you bring that up without bringing up LeBron James saying he was better than some NBA players before he got to the NBA? How do you bring that up without bringing up that LeBron James said, quote, if you want me, draft my son. At this point, it ain't about the money. I'll play for free. That was LeBron. How is it? I mean, I understand cynics. I understand this penchant to just hate the player and not the game. I understand how it's tempting to just come at me because you might dislike me or might disagree with me if you're Joe Public or Susie Public out there. I get it. But don't the truth matter? Because there's one person in this ordeal that's telling the truth, and it's me. I don't lie to y'all. His ass lies a lot. And there's a lot of shady stuff that he does. And one of the things is his passive aggressiveness and the two-facedness and smile in your face and dig you behind the back. I happen to know that about him, which is why I don't like him. And he don't like me. But it doesn't stop me from being fair and calling it like I see it. We ain't exchanging Christmas gifts. We ain't having Thanksgiving dinner together. What you bring your son up in there for? What you bring your family up in there before? You gonna go on Pat McAfee show, talk about you gonna protect your house. What you talking about? Your son ain't at the house. He's at Crypto.com Arena. We ain't covering him in Brentwood. We covering him in downtown LA at the Crypto.com Arena, where you put him. Now, I happen to believe that he's going to be ready. I think Bronny's going to be an NBA player. I believe in the kid personally. But LeBron did this. Now, to get to he and I, could y'all please go back to the video of him getting in my face? If you watch, ladies and gentlemen, and you see it for yourself, Notice how LeBron is in my face, and right when he finishes, he looks past me right at the camera that was filming it. Watch him. I didn't even pick that up first go round. You got Markieff Morris to my right, his left. You got Scott Brooks, assistant coach, behind him. He finishes talking and looks right up to the camera. Everybody and their mother knew I was going to be there. He knew I was coming. And picked the third quarter in the middle of the game to say what he has to say to make sure the camera's rolling, and to then look at the camera after immediately saying what he said to me, with me having no chance to respond. We could have went to the back after the game. LeBron James could have came right over the press row and said, yo, don't leave. I want to see you after the game. We got to have a conversation. And before any of these players or any professional athlete or anybody associated with them says another syllable, think about this. 99% of y'all would have done that. Y'all would have said, Stephen A, don't leave. I ain't see you, bro. After the game, LeBron didn't want that, because LeBron would have had to deal with my response. And my response would have been, you did this. This ain't me. Don't put this on me. Why the hell are you putting your son in this position knowing we got to cover him? If we don't cover him, we ain't doing our job. Why would you do that? That's what I would have said to him.
So you guys can see Stephen A still got his tough guy persona going on. And he's mad at LeBron because LeBron basically said he's an attention seeker. They're both attention seekers. But Stephen A is calling him a liar, shady, and of course, it's planting seeds in all of our minds like, what are you talking about? You talking about the Diddy tapes? But out of all the things that he said about LeBron, the thing that went viral was,
because had that man put his hands on me, I would have immediately swung on him. Immediately.
And it's those exact words that kept the momentum of the beef going. And LeBron James decided, oh yeah, you're gonna swing on me? Well, I'm gonna post a video of you swinging.
There you go. Clean up that cotton. Raise him up. Yeah, make it more free. Yeah, push. Come on. Come on, it's your last round. So push. There you go. Clean up that cotton. Raise him up. Yeah, make it more free. Yeah, push. Come on.
So after all that work Stephen A did to try to erase that soft persona he had and create the tough guy persona, LeBron James puts this out. So once again, Stephen A has to start all over to rebuild his manhood. And you would think maybe this is the end of the beef. No, it's not. Stephen A. Smith already made a response to that video.
Let's get to LeBron James. So LeBron James decides who really, outside of his crew, doesn't really have any friends in the media. Suddenly, he's going to be in Indianapolis, drive into the country, and go and do a show that comes on immediately after First Take. Clearly, they were looking at it, and they used the upcoming Mind Your Game podcast with Steve Nash to disguise what his real agenda was, which was to address me. Because he continues to lie to the world about what I said and who I was pointing the finger at. To regurgitate an obvious point, when I talked about Bronny James early in the season, and I highlighted the fact that at that particular moment in time, he simply was not ready, I was calling out LeBron James. LeBron James never addresses that with anybody, and for some reason, no one ever asked him about that. Wasn't it you who said that Bronny James was better than some players in the NBA right now before he was even drafted? Wasn't it you who said, if you want me, draft my son? Because You wanted to play with your son for 1 year. Wasn't it you who literally circumvented meritocracy within the National Basketball Association and got the entire media world in the NBA and, of course, the Lakers organization to buy in on that? LeBron James did all of that. That is the person I was talking about as a father, not the father in Brentwood or Bel Air or wherever else he has homes. I'm talking about the father that shows up at crypto.com arena. Last time I checked, Bronny James is a professional basketball player. LeBron James went on national television yesterday and lied. He said that I have no problem with you talking about the game. What did I say about Bronny James other than at the time he wasn't ready? That was it. I said nothing else. So if that's the issue, and I pointed to LeBron James and the fact that you've circumvented a meritocracy just to get your wish at the expense of the credibility of the league in a lot of people's eyes, that's talking about you. That's not talking about your son. In the aftermath of that interview, what does he do? He puts out some page about me, boxing and all of this other stuff from a decade ago with 2 torn rotator cuffs. Fine, no problem. It's very, very embarrassing video. I'll be the first to say and all that stuff, even though I like it to be left up there. Because if people think I want to throw hands like that, that's how I throw hands, knock yourself out. I'm good with it. I know that the man I am today is not the man that I was a decade ago, physically or beyond. I can tell you that. So we get that out the way. Why do I bring that up? Because that's how petty you've become. You're LeBron James. You that butthurt over the things that I'm saying, that you would post that video. When has LeBron James ever done something like that? But suddenly you're doing that as it pertains to me. This man is in his feelings. I wonder why. Could it be because I don't believe you're the GOAT? Because I'll never believe you're the GOAT? Because I have you number 2 at all times? Do I have to have ESPN and First Take put up the ticker tape right now and say, yo, could you put that up there, please? Great father, great husband, great philanthropist, great businessman, great director, great producer, great host, great basketball player, great leader. I mean, my God, I have done everything but put diapers and a bib on this brother. But it ain't enough, because one thing matters to him and one thing only, and that's him being recognized as the greatest of all times. Well, you're not in my book. That belongs to Michael Jordan. Where would I get that from? Let's count the ways. So we have a situation where we're looking at LeBron James breaking all these records, and we're conveniently forgetting that he's in his 22nd year. But Jordan did all of this pretty much in his first 13, although he had 15 years. He only came back for the final 2 years because he wanted to be an owner. And part of the stipulation with Abe Poland, then the owner of the Washington franchise, was that he be a part of the team and play and generate revenue and interest, etc., so he could ultimately become an owner. That's why Michael Jordan played. It was really his first 13 years. Yet still in all, here we are in the year 2025, decades after Michael Jordan has retired, while LeBron James is still playing. And LeBron James is still 2 titles shy of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is 6. LeBron James has 4. He does have as many finals losses as Michael Jordan has wins. He has 6 finals losses. He has 4 championships. Let me continue. Michael Jordan, NBA Finals MVP, 6th, the most all time. LeBron James, 4, despite having played a minimum of 7 more seasons than Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, regular season MVP, 5, tied for 2nd all time with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. LeBron James, 4. Once again, he comes up short to Michael Jordan. All NBA first team, 10 of 15 seasons, 67% for Michael Jordan. 59%, 13 of 22 for LeBron James over the course of 22 years. Defensive Player of the Year, Michael Jordan captured that once. That has never been an honor bestowed upon LeBron James. All NBA Defensive First Team, 9, tied for most all time to LeBron James, 5. He's still 4 short despite having a minimum of 7 more seasons. Scoring titles, 10-1. LeBron James does have an assist title. Michael Jordan never did that. Michael Jordan led the league in steals on 3 occasions. He's had 9 NBA record 9 game-winning buzzer beaters. LeBron, as of last night, has 8. So still in your 22nd season, you haven't caught up to Michael Jordan, okay? What I'm saying to you is that these are basketball things that I'm mentioning. Who got personal? LeBron. He's lying when he says that I attacked his son. When he came up to me courtside at the Lakers-Knicks game, he was lying then. He threw me off guard because he said, you can't be pooping on my son because we over FCC airways. You can't be doing that. I didn't know what he was talking about, so it threw me off. Had he came up to me and said, "What the hell are you doing talking about me as a father?" I would say it's because of what you were doing with your son on the basketball court for public consumption. That's fair game. His son plays for the Los Angeles Lakers. I don't wish any harm upon Bronny. I believe in Bronny. I didn't say anything about him until that one time, January 29th. And I never bothered him before or after. I just stated a point in fact. We want to forget that. We want to forget that other people were pointing to his legitimacy or lack thereof as a McDonald's All-American. We want to point to LeBron James, and we don't want to bring up the fact that he was the one that said on the record, "My son is better than some NBA players right now. You want me, draft my son." We want to conveniently forget that. I'm not doing that. I cover this sport. This is what I do. And if LeBron James wants to see me continue to cover the sport, or he wants to have a problem with me continuing to cover the sport, I suggest that he be happy with the things that I haven't brought up. I never brought up really and never really discussed why you were not at Kobe Bryant's memorial service. I never really brought up or discussed why you did not attend Dwayne Wade's Hall of Fame induction when that man was directly responsible for you capturing a championship for the first time in your career. I brought up none of that. I didn't bring up the fact that even though when people had asked, you had alluded to what had happened tragically to your son, and thank God he's okay with his heart condition. I didn't bring up the fact that even though you couldn't go to the Hall of Fame induction of Dwayne Wade weeks earlier, you were out of the country on business. I didn't bring that up. That's your personal business, okay? But the fact is, you wasn't at the Hall of Fame induction of a brother that's going to drastically assist to you being a Hall of Famer because he helped you become the champion that you are, and he was a big brother to you. I brought up none of these things. But LeBron James, at the end of the day, wants to come at me, and he's walking around pouting. Why would he be pouting?
This is like a couple fighting. When one person says something to hurt the other person, and then that person tries to say something to hurt them even more. LeBron James hurt Stephen A. Smith with that boxing video. Now Stephen A. Smith is saying that he had 2 torn rotator cuffs. I'm calling cap, not the quarterback. The reason why I'm calling cap is, why would you be throwing punches with 2 torn rotator cuffs? Why would you be doing that? That makes no sense. There's no medical reason to throw punches while your rotator cuff is torn. Now, if it's recently healed from a tear, that makes more sense, but they definitely weren't torn when he was throwing those punches. All he's gonna do is hurt himself more, or possibly damage himself more. But that video hurt his self-esteem. It hurt him deep inside. So now Stephen A is like, you wanna know why you'll never be the GOAT? Because Michael did this, all in about 13 to 15 years. And you still haven't done some of that, and probably never will do some of that, and you played an extra 7 years. So you, LeBron James, will never, ever, ever be the GOAT. No matter how bad you want to be, no matter how bad you want people to think you are. We won't. Only your fans will. Stephen A was on such a roll, I really thought he was going to stick it to LeBron James and really let him have it and just say it. You're not even as good as Kobe Bryant. Period. But I guess Stephen A thought, that's too low. LeBron hit me with a low blow, but letting him know he's not even top 2 is really, really, really low. Let him still have his fantasies. And as of now, you guys are all caught up with the beef. If you have any opinions to add, then comment below. Tell me what you think. Are you on Stephen A's side, or are you on LeBron's side? Or are you like me? You think they're both clowns. But no matter whose side you're on, I'm still gonna need you to hit that bell like the hunchback. Also click that hit checker button and sub ride with me. And I'll see you on the next trip.
Day and night.
Keep it real.